I went on hunger strike back on the 14th. I remain on hunger strike until there's a more ambitious target for being carbon neutral. And I said I'd review things on Sunday the 28th, which will be 2 weeks into the hunger strike. I did my foundation training, so my first 2 years as a doctor in the UK. And this is a common time where doctors go away for a year, Australia, New Zealand. I went to South Africa and I never came back. A small rural hospital, I stayed there for 4 years. One of the most impoverished districts in South Africa. Was pretty bad. HIV was still much more rampant than it is now. I did a bit of studying, Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, and moved on to Médecins Sans Frontières. Worked a few missions with them. But I was in North Nigeria for a year, and watching children die every day, at least one mortality on average, and mostly from malnutrition. Or at least the rest of them would have some element of undernutrition on top of whatever their problems were. Most impoverished are usually involved in subsistence farming, and the vulnerability of that to any sort of climate change, any sort of irregularities in the environment is phenomenal. What's going to happen to people there, the mass movements, the difficulties, the suffering people are going to encounter is extreme. The way we're living at the moment is that we've got lots of technology, we've got lots of power, we've done lots of clever things to increase crop yields and things, but we've just expanded to fill that gap in terms of population growth, in terms of our expectations. But now we're finding it wasn't just being clever, a lot of it was also short-term benefit for long-term loss. Mass crop production, we've got lots of nutrition, but now we're finding all the pesticides we used causing biodiversity loss of insects, and we're not pollinating anything anymore. So we've got to understand that we've outstripped what the world can do. So I think everyone has some responsibility to consider, at least family size is such a personal thing, but to consider not just is the world going to be horrible when they grow up, but is this the right thing to be bringing more children into the world? This typically sort of aligns with migration issues, and the accusation is, but people in Africa are still, having so many children, and the population in Africa is, presumed to grow quite dramatically compared to the rest of the world. But the analogy I bring is that, these cultures depend on big families for their growth. That's where the security is. That's what they've always done. That's how they've always done things. And okay, in my opinion, I think it might be detrimental to the future of their children. But in the West, in Europe, in UK, we don't know how to escape perpetual economic growth. That's our addiction. We're terrified. We don't know how to get out of it. And it's not just destroying our own children's future, it's destroying the entire planet. So I think that's a good analogy to bring up when we meet those criticisms of, people abroad, or certain places in Africa where the birth rate is really high. We just can't deal with it. We can't just have all the excess people coming over here. I'm like, no, there's a strong counter argument to that. It seems to have worked, getting some media attention. I feel more comfortable with it because I think being a doctor, I sort of understand what's going out and going in and all the risks and things. I've had positive responses for a lot of people who are working here, who they feel we should go green now, want to do more, but obviously they're also working within a structure. So I hope as well they feel supported. I'm doing this, you can call it a protest, but it's like you're athletes and I'm just urging you on to do a hell of a lot better than you're doing at the moment. From the head up, I'm surprised how okay I'm feeling and how, I still feel relatively articulate. Maybe I'll look back in a week and think, my God, what was I saying? But, I still feel relatively okay. But when I try and get up and move, I'm shuffling along the floor. It's taking me longer and longer to get to this spot and get back to where I'm staying. I'm definitely reluctant to encourage this to any younger advocates. When you're really sort of locked into a social group, it's difficult. Change, you can't just read something and then say, all right, I'm doing this now because that was wrong. That means betraying the people you're with. That means accusing the people you're with. that means risking ridicule. So change is difficult, and I think already we're locked into a sense of this is just how the world works, and everyone approaches that with a sense of, well, yeah, I would love to do this, but it won't work because everyone else believes that, and so you feel powerless. And I think Extinction Rebellion started to tap into the freedom that lots of people inside were thinking, this isn't right. Working in the humanitarian sector, you come back and tell some stories, and people will ask, I can't do that, got all these other things in my life, but what can I do? And in medicine, there's this phrase, first do no harm. So don't chuck out CO2 emissions. Like, I was with HSBC, it's like, okay, shunt across to, I'm going to Triodos, so you can find websites that will tell you how much each corporation is investing in fossil fuels, so you can get them out, and you can let your bank know that this is why you are leaving them. Diet, I'm kind of a vegetarian that has the odd fish. I think changing your diet is a good way of showing some commitment, and it has some effect. Looking at flights, but the big one and the big message for XR is really lots of people have been doing those things for a long time, and on its own it's not going to be enough. We do need to get active, and you do need to get your voice heard some way. I don't know, really XR are pushing for the more radical end of the spectrum, but I saw the organisation that was going on in April. For every person that's arrested, you need a lot of support. I felt very comfortable. I was doing stewarding for Hyde Park for the nights for most of it, and I thought that was very valuable work. To come back to the message of XR and the experience of and sort of exasperation of the people who started it. Other things have been tried, and on their own they're not going to be enough. We need to get a voice. So yeah, I'm here. That's why I'm giving this a go.